open rate is your most important metric when it comes to email marketing. That's because if your open rates are low, nobody's gonna see your emails, so they won't generate any revenue. That's why in this video I'm gonna show you how to improve your open rates in 3 simple steps. And if you're wondering what kind of results you can get, here are some of the examples. So for the 27 million of recipients, our average open rate was 51%. As you can see, the trend is pretty decent. I mean, we had a small dip right here, but there's always, multiple different periods of seasonality where open rate dropped, but overall we're trending up, which is great. Another example, 8 million recipients. The open rate was great, but then we took over because they were sending to the same segment over and over again, targeting only like probably 20% of their entire list. So the revenue was pretty much down, and even though open rate was great, around 70%, they weren't maximizing the revenue, which is the thing that you want the most, right? Like you don't care about open rates. I mean, you should, because if your open rates are bad, nobody's gonna see your emails. But in general, open rates don't like pay out to your bank account directly. You just care about revenue, which makes sense. So here we, for example, took over, expanded more, added sunset engaged flow. So we had this dip, which is once again normal. But if you look at this, our open rate right now is still above 60%, and we increased the campaign recipients by 300%, like almost 300%. So that's insane. Another example, even if your brand is a little smaller, 480k recipients in just 1 month from flows. 65% average open rate, once again trending up, which is great. These 2 examples were campaigns. That's also like recipients that are higher, but this one is flows. Another example of flows, 50% open rate on average. Still pretty decent. I mean, Klaviyo says it's good, not excellent, but honestly, for this volume, 50% open rate is very healthy. So in this video, I'm gonna once again show you exactly how to improve your open rate. And there are 3 main steps that you need to follow to have good open rates. First one is setting up your authentic infrastructure. Second one is warming up your list and domain. And the third one is scaling and maintaining the scale. Let's start off with sending infrastructure. So the good news is that you need to do this only once, and once you do it, that's it. Like, you don't need to repeat it over and over again. It's very critical to start with this, because if you don't have proper sending infrastructure and you start sending emails to your customers, you're gonna end up in spam. So that's not something you wanna do, obviously. So here's exactly what you need to do. There are a few DNS records that you need to set up. First one being SPF, DKYM, and then DMARC. Once you set them all up, you're gonna be all set. You can just simply Google them, your domain provider name, SPF record, that's it. They're gonna show you how to do it. It's really simple. I'm not gonna go over this in this video, because if I were to do it, I would need to cover multiple domain providers like GoDaddy, Namecheap, and so on and so on. And the video would be so long. You can do it on your own, I'm sure. Another step that you need to do is set up custom sending domain in Klaviyo. This is very simple. So you're just gonna essentially get DNS records that you need from Klaviyo that you need to input into your domain provider. So the same thing pretty much that you're doing here, but DNS records are gonna be a little bit different. And then this one, it is really optional. I mean, if you don't have it, then it's not a huge problem, but I recommend you do, just so you can track your open rates and Gmail performance specifically more accurately. And this step is just setting up postmaster tools in the exact same way that you would do all of these steps, just adding DNS records to your domain. After this is done, you can use the tool called MX Toolbox to check if you are doing everything properly, or if you've done everything properly. There's a typo here. But yeah, in general, just go to this tool. It's a super tool, and then you can look up any of your DNS records pretty much, right? Like even for me, if I type in inventivemail.com, which is my agency's website, and for example, let's do SPF record lookup, it's gonna tell you that SPF looks fine, right? And so on and so on. So you can check this for just all the, okay, so for DKYM, it's a little bit different to add it, but in general, you can select whatever DNS record you're trying to check, and then look up how is it looking. Okay, there's some kind of error. Okay, that's why. Okay, once again, so you would just go to this tool and select whatever you're trying to check, right? And it's gonna give you feedback if it's working fine or not. If it's not working fine, then it's also gonna tell you why, and you can just easily fix that. But once again, this tool is very, very healthy, just to double check if you've got everything correctly. Now, after you have nailed the technicals, remember to have your emails optimized. And this is also what I mean by having proper sending infrastructure, because technicals are one part of it, but the second one is how you send your emails. So first of all, make sure that all your elements are in one section. If you go to Klaviyo, there are multiple sections of emails, and if you have like, for example, 3 sections, your email weight is gonna be like 60 kilobytes, for example. But if you move all of the elements into one section, it can be like maybe even 50 kilobytes. So you're gonna decrease your email size, which is gonna prevent your email from being clipped. And it doesn't really matter how much content you have in one section, as long as it is one section. Like, just remember, put all of your content into one section. It's gonna help you with deliverability for sure. Another one is decreasing your image size using squash.app. So it's a very simple website, and I mean, you don't want to send like very big files or images because it's gonna impact your deliverability in a negative way. You want to compress them. Obviously, you need to find a balance between quality and compression and size, but that's why what this app is for. It shows you also the preview of compressed files, so you can see what is the quality, if anything is blurry, and so on and so on. Another one is having custom HTML code in the footer. This is pretty straightforward. I covered it in one of my case studies, which you can also look up, but it's just adding a long string of text into the footer just to balance the ratio between images and plain text elements. Then you need to include alt text for every single image, have as few links and images as possible. This also refers to image-based emails. For example, what we do is we send emails as one image, and then we have this custom HTML code footer where it shows inbox providers that like, hey, it's not like, for example, a brand sending 10 images and a bunch of text. It's one image and a bunch of text, which they see like, okay, it's probably email from a friend, and usually that results in having better open rates and deliverability as well. And then for sure what you need to do is incorporate plain text emails into your email strategy. They're very powerful, not only in terms of open rates and inbox placement, but also in terms of results. Like, trust me, if you send the last call, for example, for your sale, email from the founder, which is fully plain text, it's gonna absolutely print. So I recommend you try it out because they work well. After you nail all of that, so you have technicals in place and you know how to optimize your sending infrastructure, how to actually send emails, it's time to warm up. And now I want you to understand the simple concept, your domain reputation. Based on your domain reputation, your emails will either go to spam or to the primary inbox, right? It affects your deliverability, simply said. And you want to take care of it like it's your priority. I mean, it has to be your priority. For example, you don't want your Facebook page score to be at 1.0. I think at 1.0 they don't even allow you to run ads, but the worse your Facebook page score is, the probably higher CPMs you have, right? I don't want to say it's the same with email, but it's very similar. Like, you want to maintain your reputation at high level. If Gmail sees that you're spamming people, and people don't like your emails, they are not engaging with them, and moving them to spam, they're not gonna be giving you like a spot in the primary tab, because the most important thing for them is user experience, right? Like, same with ads. If your ads are doing great, if people engage with them, you're probably gonna get lower CPMs since you're getting engagement, comments, and people are enjoying them in general. If you run some kind of spammy ads and people start on clicking hide that, I don't like it, and so on, Facebook is gonna give you higher CPMs because their user experience is bad and you still want to promote your brand. Same with Gmail. Like, if Gmail sees that nobody likes your emails, they're not gonna do their best to give you a spot in the primary box. They're gonna move you to spam so that your email is delivered, but nobody's gonna see it. That's why you need to establish a solid reputation from the start. Now, here's the plan. So after you do all of this, like, this is step one, do all of this, optimize your sending infrastructure. And after you do it, you want to start sending emails. But you don't want to send the email to everyone, because if you blast everyone, your inbox placement is gonna be terrible. Most likely you're gonna end up in spam, and your open rate will be very bad, which once again leads to having low domain reputation, because Google can see how many people open your email, and they're gonna keep getting your emails into spam, and so on and so on. So what you wanna do is you wanna start sending to email engaged segments. By email engaged segment, I mean people who have either opened or clicked your email in the last 7 or 15 days. This is depending on your sending history. If you had good open rates before, like for example this brand, Alright, they had good open rates before. What we've done is we've set up once again a custom sending domain, and we started sending to people who have engaged with emails in the last 15 days just because we know that their deliverability was good. If you're sending from brand new domain, I would suggest last 7 days just to be safe. If this campaign goes well and has good open rate, you can send the next one to 15 days. So you might be missing out on, people from 7 days time frame, but it's not really worth it to try and get 15 days right away. Worst case, you just miss out one campaign, or these people miss out on one campaign. You're not gonna lose your entire business because of that. So play long term. Then after you do this, you need to start expanding the time frame. So people have opened in the last 7 days, 15, 30, and so on and so on. Then after you do this and open rates are looking good, this is a very important point, they need to be pretty high. If your open rates are below 50%, which is like the bare minimum, you need to once again go back to the drawing board and start sending to small segments. But assuming everything looks good and open rates are great, you can start expanding segments from email engaged, so open or clicked, to store engaged, which is people who are active on site, viewed your products, added to cart, and so on and so on. And then you can start re-engaging people who were both inactive with your emails and then with your store. So people who haven't opened or clicked, haven't been active on site for a while, you want to re-engage them and prevent from churning. But once again, this is the last step after you have done these two. You have sent emails to these two segments and your metrics are looking good. Now the last step, scale and maintain. Okay, so all of these are pretty hard and important, but this one is the most important one, because once you've done your basics and you have foundations in place, it's really key that you just maintain it. Because if you mess things up, it's gonna be really hard for you to get out of spam into the primary inbox and so on and so on. That's why it's so critical. So you can't mess things up. Once again, if you mess them up, your domain reputation will be bad, which means that your deliverability will be poor. That's why you want to slowly start expanding segments, right? Step by step, not blast everyone, just keep expanding campaign by campaign by campaign and so on and so on. Same goes with, for example, weekly frequency. Like week 1, you can send 1 campaign, week 2, 2 campaigns, week 3, 2 campaigns, then week 4, 3 campaigns, and so on and so on. So after you do this, you need to watch all of your metrics. Open rate, like in general, open rate for account, for campaigns, for flows. Open rate by ESP, which is inbox service provider. For example, open rate for Gmail account, for G Suite accounts, for Outlook, Hotmail, and so on. Bounce rate, unsubscribe rate, and spam rate. All of these metrics are important for deliverability and you need to monitor all of them. So for these 3 metrics, you want them to be as low as possible, so the lower the better. For open rates, the higher the better. As simple as that. For spam rate, ideally you wanna have like below 0.01%. That's like target. For unsubscribe rate, below 0.5%, but that's still pretty high. Usually we like to aim for 0.1 to 0.3% unsubscribe rate, and bounce rate should be as low as possible. Once again, maximum 0.5%. Sometimes it's really hard to prevent it, since if someone signs up and your welcome email bounces, then it has to bounce, right? Like one time or the other, it just has to bounce. So you cannot always avoid it, but for campaigns you can just start excluding people which email addresses have bounced from your campaigns. Now, if all of these metrics are looking good, you expand the segment, right? So you send to last 15 days. If all of these metrics look good, once again, you expand once again. And you keep doing that until you just hit your entire list, pretty much, right? And maintenance is all about monitoring your metrics. To be honest, I use 2 tools. So first one is Klaviyo, multiple reports, dashboards, and so on, and the Glockups to track your inbox placement. Right, as you can see in Klaviyo, you can track all of these metrics that I mentioned, and in Glockups, you're just testing your inbox placement. Whenever your metrics or open rates drop, just send to more engaged segments for a while. What I mean by that is if you started expanding the time frames and you have hit 60 days and open rates for all of these were 50%, but you send campaign to open 60 or engage 60 and the open rate is 30% or 20%, you go back and send to engaged 45. And then you monitor, you send for 1 campaign, 2nd campaign, and monitor. If it's good, okay, expand to 60. If it's bad, after sending to 60 once again, stick for a little bit longer to 45, maybe even go back to 30 to have very, very high open rates to show inbox service providers like, hey, we're getting 60 or 70% open rates. We're not spamming our people or our customers. And they're gonna be like, okay, if they're not doing that, let's see, we're sending to bigger segment, or they're saying, okay, it's still decent, and then you're gonna send to bigger one, and then finally get good open rate. So once again, it can be a tedious process, it's not that simple and straightforward, but it's very, very worth it, because once you nail it, you're gonna have it like pretty much set for life. I mean, you can always destroy it, that's the bad thing about it, but that's why I said this is about monitoring and that the process never stops. If you're tracking these metrics, right, all of these, you might end up in spam, and getting out of it will be pretty hard. And I think I should say if you stop tracking these metrics, not start. But yeah, that's why you need to keep an eye on it. I saw like one client who had a previous agency where their open rate were like 10%, 15%. They have done nothing with it, and right now we got them out of spam, but improving deliverability and going from promotions to primary tab will also take us a while, just because it's a very long process. Like if you're sending campaigns that are landing in spam for like a year, your domain reputation is going to be terrible. That's why it's taking us a little bit more time to improve it and have good domain reputation, because like for a year they've been messing up with it, so it won't change overnight. But yeah, this is why you need to keep doing it. This is never-ending process, but once again, it's critical and it's very, very worth it. And if you still need any help improving your deliverability or open rates or email marketing performance in general, you can book a call with me using the link in the description down below. You're gonna talk with me directly. I'm gonna chat with you about how I can help, how we can help you scale, and if we are a good fit for each other, we will just start working together. But on the other hand, if you're not there yet and you want to watch my other videos, you can check out this case study, which shows you how I made this brand over 320k in email revenue in just 1 month. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Cheers!